really had a tough time because they were just stumbling their words and they couldn't like fix their words to come out. It would be Bloomberg, Biden, and Klobuchar. Mm-hmm. She was honestly, she just needs to duck on out.
I think she's close to ducking out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, she just looks rough, and she doesn't have that pleasant persona. There's nothing about her that I'm like, oh, she makes a good point. Everything just feels defensive and snarky in many ways. Like she'll smile and laugh, and it just seems like, that's not very presidential in my opinion.
Well, I think that I think government is a lot like Hollywood. It gets a hold of you, and you start getting jacked up. I mean, I don't usually see healthy-looking politicians. They look like they drink too much, don't sleep enough, have way too much stress, and eat shit food. That's what they look like.
It's not about me. No, well, the politics. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that they look unhealthy. I think government gets a hold of them, and those jobs are really, really stressful, and they don't age well, and they don't seem healthy. For example, Amy Klobuchar, I was looking at her many months ago, and I was like, her hair is trembling. Why is she trembling? And I was like, maybe she's just nervous. Okay, let it go. So I started watching closer, and I think her hair was trembling, like her body was trembling, but I couldn't see her body trembling. I could only see her hair moving. And I'm like, is her body trembling? And my spirit guides are like, yeah, she's got a neurological disorder. And I'm like, well, that doesn't surprise me with how unhealthy these politicians are. So I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not a medical intuitive, but my spirit guides are saying her nerves have been checked and cashed, let's call it, because it's just the stress and the lifestyle and this and that, not enough sleep and whatever.
Why does she want to keep fucking with it then? Why? I mean, I don't understand this shit. I mean, but what is the upside to it when you know you're not going to win? Where is the benefit to it? It's just wasted money at that point.
Well, I think, and I thought about this, and I'm like, what is their gig? If you're in fourth place and you keep running and keep putting money in, it's not their money, it's donation. So if people like you and they keep donating, you can get more exposure. But I think what they're really doing is they're selling themselves. Even if they don't get presidency, they might get other gigs or get picked up by other groups or layered. So I don't know how often the first time someone runs for presidency that they get it. I think it's a several times thing. So I think that you have to build up momentum. So I think that's why I'm sure there's many reasons why they stay in the race, because the people are supporting them and they want to give it a go and they want to give it a good go and they want to get exposure and they want their ideas out there and they want to be noted for stating these ideas. And I think that they're building up momentum to maybe run again and maybe do better the following election year. So I think there's many reasons, but one of which is they're setting themselves up to do this again. So if Pete doesn't get it, he's young enough to run for president probably, 10 more times?
I mean, fair enough, but, I mean, you don't want to run 10 times because at
you wouldn't.
A certain point.
You let it go. Like Hillary Clinton. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, Bernie had something to stand on, like, as far as grassroots shit. Mm-hmm. But, okay, so what is it that because at some point in time, every candidate has to know, all right, there's more to this than I am being told. There's no more to this than I'm being shown. There is a behind the curtains society. Mm-hmm. So why would somebody want to keep on pursuing this position knowing that there's a behind the curtains society?
Well, let's take Bernie, for example. He talks about getting corruption out of Washington and going after corporations, and he straight talks about it, which I think is so cool. So I think Bernie's infiltrating. I think that he's stayed in this 40, 50-year run that he's had because he's working from the inside out, which I have to give him props for that. It's a hard job, and when you're a heartful individual that wants good for people and you put yourself around people who are money-driven, egomaniacs, and bought and paid for people, it's got to rub on you. I'm surprised he's still alive, to be honest with you, what he's been up against all these years. So I think his intention, I think his strategy is to infiltrate, is to get inside of the system and implode it, to break it down. And I'm going to tell you what, there's another Jewish socialist that I parallel with Bernie Sanders, and it's Jesus Christ. I feel like he's doing very interesting work and getting in there and martyring himself for the betterment of a future for humans. So I feel like his life mission.
Did Jesus talk like Bernie too?
No, he wasn't from the East Coast.
What we want to do is we're gonna This parable is for everybody. Okay, not just you on the left. It's for everybody on the right too. We're gonna give you 2 fish and a loaf of bread. Everybody that is not finishing their fish and loaf, share it with the person next to them. Okay, we're gonna start over here with it. All right, who needs some wine? Because we got enough for everybody.
My spirit guides are laughing because they think that's funny too, but they are saying that Bernie and Jesus do know each other in parallel existences. So it'd be funny to see them more clearly and see if Jesus takes on a East Coast accent in any of his existences. But that would be great.
Everybody deserves health care, a fish and a loaf, and a glass of wine. So
now
what
get
we're
out
going
of
to do is we're going to get in line. Everybody's entitled to basic needs.
You sound like him.
Yeah. All I got to do is pretend I'm old and Jewish, and that's it.
And it comes out of you. Yeah, you get the character. It comes right out of you.
Yeah.
That's funny. But the other ones, I think that they're doing, I think that the other people are bought into, I think the other people have bought into it and have drank the Kool-Aid. For example, Buttigieg, I feel like he's so duped that, is it Buttigieg?
No, I don't know.
I think it's Buttigieg. I call him Pete, so I don't have to say his last name because I think it's a ridiculous last name. But I feel like he has drank the Kool-Aid. He believes his own shit. He thinks he's working for the betterment of people. He thinks he's on the good team. He thinks he's working with the right millionaires that are the good millionaires, and he's working with the good corporations. So I think that he's duped. I think that he's just confused. The other ones I think they stay in, like Amy, I think they stay in because, it's a nice salary. And you do get to call the shots in a lot of things, and I think they get addicted to that power. So why does anyone stay a heroin addict? Why does anyone stay a crackhead? I think they're addicted to it like that. And again, the pay. I think that in order to find another job that gives them that flexibility and that kind of pay might be difficult. So I think they stay in for the benefits of it. And I think that you stay in something for so long that now it's your
identity. But the pay is just donations, right? Am I wrong? It's just donations?
What is Amy's position? I don't know what her actual position is. But for example,
senator, right?
And I don't know how much senators make, right? But I know they make decent money, and even when they stop being a senator, they get paid for life. So I don't know how much they get paid for life, probably a part of their salary. But point being, I think it's a nice chunk of change because, a lot of them stay there and don't move, don't flex. So I think that a wonderful topic for a podcast would be term limits on Congress. Like, hey, how about 4 years and you go get a different job so that they don't become like tenured teachers who don't give a shit anymore and they're just holding that position because it's easy and they don't give a shit. No, we need fresh ideas. We need fresh people. We need people in and out of there so that you don't stay in for 20 years and start making bad deals with people, meaning being lobbied or taking a trip to Hawaii so you can push this bill through or something, So I feel like the less time they stay in, the less time they have an opportunity to be influenced by lobbyists. So, I think term limits is wonderful. I think we should absolutely address that. Maybe Bernie, if things flip and we get to start looking at these kinds of things, maybe something will happen with it. But I think term limits and getting rid of the Electoral College, I think if we started with those two things, we could really do a little something around here. I know why the Electoral College was put into place, and it was so people in large volume and population cities don't pick for the rest of the country. It was explained to me like this, okay, so New York and LA have so many people. They have more people than any of the central states like Nebraska and Kansas. They have more people than those states at some time. So why do they get to call the shots for everyone in these smaller vicinities or smaller places with less people? And I was like, okay, I can see how that could have helped us 50 years ago, 25 years ago, 100 years ago. But I feel like the fair shot now because we're a populace. We've got people all over the country. Sure, LA and New York still have more people, but we have population all throughout the country. And I really feel like we can let that go in just one vote per person, as opposed to this electoral college stuff, which is exactly how Trump got into presidency. He had the best strategy team that there is, and he knew where to go get those points, and he knew that Hillary was slacking and not going to places like Pennsylvania and Michigan and campaigning. She was being lazy. There's cardboard cutouts of her. He knew that, and so that means he doubled down and got all those points and came in there and flipped blue states red. And so, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, but it's a lot of strategy. And what do you think about the Electoral College?
Well, honestly, a lot of that shit is confusing to me because I just don't understand the reasoning behind it.
Yep.
I mean, as far as for me, I've always been somebody. Well, I can't say always been, but over recent years, as long as I can remember, I've always been someone like, look, if we can't verify every vote and every vote does not count towards that person being nominated, then it's corrupt.
It's corrupt.
So all you're doing is feeding a corrupt system by voting. That's always been my take on it. So what benefit would I be doing by feeding a corrupt system? Even now I feel that way.
Me too. But that's why I'm not even considering voting again. I don't vote because I really feel like it's a corrupt system. And if the foundation is shit in a building, I don't want to live in it. It's just not healthy. It's not safe.
It just feels like a show to me. And I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel like my vote counts and it matters. And if I'm in a room full of people and we're voting on something, then you can see what I'm voting for. You can see what I'm endorsing. And outside of that, it's like, okay, even if I had everybody's vote, and I know like it was made public and aware for everybody, I can't verify them names and stuff. I can't verify who it is that's doing what. So I can be told anything, and that's how fucking skeptical I am nowadays. But if I'm also speaking from a spiritual sense that, okay, I am connected to everybody, and I'm still in this consciousness. So I have to be aware of what is going on, like what we're being told as far as what is legitimate and what's not, and just trust my intuition. So,
exactly.
I would still want to participate, but I would have to feel like it was authentic.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I would have to feel authentic. It's real. It's a fair game. I don't want to play rigged games. I don't like the people who pull the strings. I'm not going to participate. One of my friends who I do another podcast with, we do a show called Downward Dogma. One of the gals was like, well, why don't you vote? And I'm like, I don't participate in satanic ritual. I feel like at this point it's so rigged and it's so dark and unpleasant that I feel like I'm participating and enabling a system that I just don't agree with. But I think you're right. I think it's good to be aware. I think it's good to know what's going on. I don't have to agree with it, but if I can keep an eye and ear out and get some information, then that's all I need to do to be a part of this oneness, this civilization. Because I talked to my teacher about it, and he's like, no, that's right. He goes, being aware of what's going on is different than engaging in it fully. And if you don't want to engage in it fully, fine, so be it. It's your choice. You choose what you want to do. But being aware of what's going on so that you have a leg up on it. So, again, you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to vote. You don't have to be all up in it, but just keeping an ear out. And I think that's what you and I are doing. And I have a nice couple handfuls of friends who are like you and I. I don't have a lot of friends like you and I, meaning most of my friends vote. Most of my friends know that something's up and that things aren't quite right, but they still continue to invest their time to vote, and that's great. They should do what they want to do. But I feel like until people stop enabling this to happen, that it's not going to fully stop. Even with Bernie, even if we get Bernie in there, I feel like, on some levels, the president is a figurehead, and how much power do they really have? And I know that it's just good morale to have Bernie up there because I think he's a heartful individual. But Yeah, I guess we just have to wait and see. And I think that that's where people like you and I sit. We're like, we're not invested. We haven't bet on anything. We're not cheering our favorite team on. We're sitting back and watching like intelligent, wisdomatic people to see how it plays out. And that's all we can do.
Well, we can't really determine like who can do what with any of their promises, and that yeah,